Welcome to Igniting Inspired Inquiry, a space for real conversations with incredible humans. I'm your host, Jay, and I'm here to open the door to reflection, resonance, and revelation. If you have a moment to like, share, subscribe, or review, I would deeply appreciate you sharing the love. This is a space for truth, trust, and the kind of insight that comes from simply being human. Thank you for being here. Let's begin. And here we have it. So today I get to meet and have a conversation with a beautiful human who I've been connected by Amy, who was our podcast number one, actually. And she's been talking about you and saying how we needed to align and have this conversation. And it is now, which I'm very excited about, and to get to know you more. So today we have our guest is Cathy, and she's dialing in from Lois, North Island. And she might share some more, but I am honored to hear your wisdom and what's the work you're doing, and also just see where this inquiry takes us. So Cathy, thank you so much for being here, and share with us, to those who are listening, who is Cathy?
Well, good afternoon, Atamarie, and I am
Mm.
dialing in from Otaki, a small semi-rural town, about an hour away from Wellington Central. I've lived here for the past almost 9 years. I can't believe it's nearly been a decade. Coming from and born and bred in Porirua, also in the Wellington region. Born at the little hospital there, Kenepuru Hospital, and 50 years ago next month. So
Wow.
I am just cannot believe how fast half a century has gone. It's almost been a fleeting blink in the
Mm.
moment of the big life picture.
Mm-hmm.
And within that 50 years, I seem to have managed to, I feel I've jam-packed it, but there's still so much more that I want to do and see.
I love
I am
that.
a middle child with an older brother and a younger sister who I'm very close to. We're all exceptionally different, which is a beautiful thing. I'm very blessed to still have living parents, both in their one in their 80s and one nearly in their 80s, who are still working and living life to the fullest. So that kind of gives you a contextual picture about why my nickname might be Liquid Lightning uh,
Thank you for
and
sharing that.
sometimes Hurricane Cathy.
Okay.
So I am a person of integrity. I'm a person of loyalty. I'm a person of curiosity. And I wake up every day with a blank canvas and a real excitement about what opportunities await, no matter what the environment. So
I
that's
love
a little bit
that.
about me. I'm also a mum. I'm a very proud mum. I'm a
Yes.
proud mum to two beautiful, well, not really children anymore.
Yeah.
One 20, nearly 21-year-old daughter
Yeah.
and a 17-year-old son, and
Mm.
a wonderful husband who is really a saint in my book. And we've been together for 26 years, married for 23.
Wow.
So they are my whole world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I can feel your values in the way you share them, which is just very special. And it's
Thank
very
you.
inspiring. Liquid lightning.
Oh, yes, yes.
And that's such a beautiful thing. To actually connect a few dots as to what Amy shared about you, and what I'm hearing and seeing, which is beautiful. So now we get to dive into the first question, which is the common thread. And you've heard this and had some time to think about it. But for you today, what is one moment, belief, or experience that changed the way you see the world?
Gosh, it's a big question, isn't
It
it,
is. It
Jay?
is.
And I didn't want to think too hard because I think sometimes when we think too hard, sometimes the answer's right in front of us.
Yeah, I completely
And
agree.
and I thought about this, and I've got so many beliefs and so many moments, but really one stood out to me, and it was a moment, and it was a moment in time in my early 20s actually. that kind of changed my perspective on myself, but also my surroundings and the world itself. And it came at a time when, I was young and free. I had no responsibilities, no children at that time. Life was good. I was working as a personal trainer. I'd built myself some client base. I was studying full time as well at Teachers Training College, wanting to be a PE teacher, what I thought at that time. I was fit, I was strong, the world was at my feet. Uh, and I had a few symptoms at that time that I thought, well, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm teaching pump aerobics, and at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then I'm running into Wellington City and Karori and doing my tutorials for Teachers Training College, and then I'd shoot straight back to the gym and teach another class, or be a floor walker or work reception or sell a membership. But I was young and I was free, and I thought, well, this is probably normal, feeling a bit tired and feeling a bit sort of drained. Anyway, these symptoms persisted, and I had a very good GP who had known me since I was a height of a grasshopper, and went along and we just did some normal sort of testing and some routine bloods and things like that, and some of them came back a wee askew, and we sort of went down the curiosity route and investigated and explored that a little bit further, and having a real big interest myself in the human anatomy, the human spirit, and the person as a whole, and also having quite a good health literacy, having been a bit of a science nerd and still am. Uh, I really sort of took that a bit further and got a second opinion and got, sort of further testing and went into sort of endocrinology and hormone specialists. Anyway, it turned out that I was diagnosed after 5 years, so ups and downs, with a rare disease, a rare condition that was, not really known a lot about. And I thought, well, me being me, went into this with curiosity and had no fear at all, but just wanting to know more. And this led to, unfortunately, years and years of being a little bit unwell. And you can imagine coming from a world of being physically fit to all of a sudden feeling somewhat trapped in your body physically,
Yeah.
which, of course, when you're physically at a dis-ease or unwell,
Mm.
your mind starts to have this internal talk around some doubt, some negativity. And because it was driven by hormones, of course, that plays an impact on your emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, this led me to the perception of life itself being challenged.
Mm.
What did this mean for my future dreams? What was this something that I could fix? Was I broken, or was I just being challenged in a space and triggered in a space that perhaps I wasn't at ease with? I had to mature quite quickly, and I thought my thoughts really almost came to a breaking point emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Being a woman of faith, everything was challenged in a moment. There were days of real complete darkness, but also there was also this little lamp, and it was quite dim, but I knew that it would shine brighter. I just had to get to the next day. And so the job that was on my mind, and I sort of look at a job as um, the joy of being. So the joy of being for me was managing to get up in the morning and put one foot in front of the other. Um, so I started this journey. I had to tell my teachers training college that I could no longer participate in the day-to-day of study. So I had to put that on hold after the first year. I had to step back from my physicality of working at the gym, and I was on reception at the time. My body had gone from a very fit, having just competed in my first bodybuilding competition, to a bloated, um, faded kind of light, really, of a person that everybody knew Cathy to be. Uh, I had to fake it till I made it most days to kind of get through because I didn't want to be bombarded with questions because the questions obviously were triggering and I didn't have answers to them at that point. Again, I was curious and I wanted answers. I'm very stubborn by nature, and there was no way that this was going to hold me back. I thought, there was an aha moment, and the light got brighter, and I thought, perhaps this is my purpose. Perhaps I've been given this challenge to be able to shine the light and to be the leader of other people coming through in the rare
Yeah,
disease
wow.
community. So I
Mm.
started to attend rare disease conferences that were held throughout New Zealand. I became a guest speaker at different events. I was in medical journals. Um, I was going to exams of, 6-year doctors where they had to ask me questions and try to figure out what was wrong with me to be able to advocate and become an educated person myself, but also educate the medical world to listen to patients more and,
Yeah.
to try to, yeah, as I say, kind of make a, a stance really in this world of rareness.
Hmm.
And I began to realize that rare things are precious jewels. And actually, it's when you dig deeper that you figure out more stuff. So it was at this time after completing my first surgery, and to give you a bit more context, the rare disease was actually formed in the pituitary gland, which is known as the master gland of the human body. And it was in the form of a tumor, a rare brain tumor. And so the first surgery was brain surgery. I was going in with complete peace, with complete naivety, uh, now sort of almost early 20s, mid 20s at this point, thinking I've got nothing to lose. I did get a bit of a sharp shock, um, but that's okay. And it was in my recovery when I was at the library trying to uncover books and encyclopedias, trying to figure out some information about this condition and the pituitary gland itself, that I met my now husband, who at the time was studying uh, counseling. So, in the
Oh,
people kind of caring kind of world as well.
yeah.
And we kind of fell into each other. And after a year, we became husband and wife. So, 6 months into this meeting in a library, uh, we became husband and wife. And it was shortly after we were married that unfortunately some of my symptoms returned and we were faced with another challenge again. But this time it was different because the previous time I was all on my own. And so this time now I had someone that I really loved and cared about. That was also not only being my biggest supporter, but it was also going through transition and a potential grieving with me as well. So it was at this point that I said, you can run now if you need to. But of course, he stuck with me. And so again, my perception on the world changed a little bit then because now there was someone else in my corner, but also in my world with the potential of their world potentially falling apart. He stuck with me, and we both faced the second surgery together. So again, I went in, had another brain surgery, and it was a couple of months after that that they gave us the news that unfortunately this was going to be lifelong. It was an incurable thing, and in order to slow the growth, we would have to remove some other bodily organs, which again are, is a potential for more autoimmune diseases. So both of my adrenal glands were removed, which are vital organs in the body. Anybody that's heard of adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency, I completely understand because I have none. So I run on oral steroids and other hormones that effectively most people would make naturally. I take synthetic hormones, but I'm so incredibly grateful for science and for the accessibility of these hormones so that I can get up every day and actually share my story and my journey and continue to live life to the fullest. Um, it was at that time when we got told this that we thought, well, we can conquer this, we can conquer anything together, you know. The power of two working for you, we're stronger together, right? So yeah, we're both pretty stubborn people. He at this time had become a counsellor and was working three jobs to pay back student loans. It was at this time that I was not very well, and so I had to take a break from work. But together we were working and we managed to make things work. Um, as I started to regain my strength, I had a separate garage at that current house that we were living at, and I would start my personal training journey again. I felt that I had a little bit more knowledge around health and tips and tricks and resilience that I could perhaps help other people. And that started to give me a purpose again, which was fantastic. Um, Once I got well again, we wanted to become parents. And at this time, we'd been married for several years. And unfortunately, nothing was happening naturally. So we embarked on the IVF journey. And after lots of heartbreak and lots of transport and travel and financial stress, um, we managed to have our beautiful daughter, Grace. We named her that for a very good reason. Grace Ruby actually is her name. The grace of life, the grace of miracles, and Ruby being the precious jewel.
It's
And
beautiful.
it was at that time when she was 2 years old, she had her hands on her hips, looked me straight in the eye and said, Mum, there's a baby boy in your tummy. I looked at her with inquiry and I said, Okay, darling, yeah, that's wonderful. And blow into medical science, I
Yeah.
didn't ovulate. I didn't have any cycles at all because of the tumor in my pituitary gland, which is the
Yeah,
master
yeah.
organ of hormones. I
Mm.
was completely covered with endometriosis and polycystic ovaries, and always had trouble in that area. We were scheduled that week after she actually shared that with us to go into the Fertility Associates, where we still had some embryos awaiting from our first cycle with beautiful Grace. And we took Gracie as a 2-year-old in that day. We sat and we had that meeting and we signed the paperwork to defrost these embryos
Mm.
for this next exciting journey of this beautiful life that we might produce. And as I lay on the bed and the scanning went on, the doctor said, Wow, this is incredible. I think you might be 3 weeks pregnant. And he just looked at us in dismay and
Wow.
said, I don't know how or why. Your bloods prove that you have not ovulated. There is no way medically that you could be pregnant.
Hmm.
Wait for 4 more weeks. At 7 weeks, there's generally a heartbeat. So go away, live your lives, go and have a scan at 7 weeks. And if there's a heartbeat, then we will come back and discuss this. So we had no expectations. Again, curiosity. So at 7 weeks, we very excitedly put everybody in the car, Grace, Peter, and myself, and we went down to the local scanning machine. And sure enough, there was a strong, strong heartbeat. And 9 months later, a beautiful boy was born, Elijah. And so there is the story of
Mm.
belief, hope,
Yes.
light shining, and
Mm.
curiosity. And I think by us not being completely closed off and stressed and worrying and waiting, we were just open to the possibilities of miracles.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
beautiful.
yeah, that's what
Yeah,
happened.
it's
And so
incredible.
that both our children were born into a space of anything is possible.
I love that, and that's exactly what I hear. And what you just said in reflecting back to you, but the curiosity is what keeps us open, right? And
Yeah,
it prevents this sort of closed, finite mindset. It's so inspiring to hear your perspective on things. I also believe that, and you actually asking a question, but that finding the purpose in what was happening to you is actually what gave you power.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that meaning behind
Yeah.
where life was taking you, even though it was out of your control. And there's so much that was out of your control.
This is it. By relinquishing all control and by being vulnerable, it allows other things to come in into the space. My
Agreed.
husband is actually Samoan, and this is Samoan word va, V-A, and it means dipping your toe into the space. And sometimes that space of unknown can be extremely uncomfortable and frightening. But actually, if you don't dip your toe into that space or that va, you will never know what possibilities might come out of that realm. Um,
Agreed. Agreed. That's so special.
yeah, the perspective though still had things to come, which we
Mm-hmm.
didn't encounter.
Mm.
Well, until really now, until the last couple of years. Obviously, having a rare condition never stopped me or never defined who I was as a person. You know, I'm a contributing citizen. I've worked in NGOs most of my life. Um, uh, and worked full time up until now and give everything I have. I just love connecting with people in general and learning about them because it's learning about them and talking to others that I learn more about myself and what areas I've still got to grow in. Uh, I think often it's what the things that trigger us the most as humans are the things that actually we're not at peace with yet.
Oh yeah,
And
that's the
so,
medicine.
yeah, and so I really love when I'm triggered because it then allows me to dig a bit deeper and go, oh, I didn't expect that to trigger me. Why am I triggered by that? And then it really makes me do some self-reflection around that. Um, we most recently learnt with because I have regular bloods, obviously, and MRIs and things, just to maintain, um, and learn what's going on with this pituitary tumor, and it has grown over time. And I was told at the end of last year, November, December, that we might have to go in again for the third time. But most of the tumour is inaccessible and inoperable, and it's a watch and wait approach. But they would like to debulk and to get some histology and then stop the rest of the growth with radiation. I was a bit reluctant to go in a third time because there had been some complications last time. And if you remember the second time, the first time was just with me. The second time I had my love of my husband. This third time, I have adult children to consider.
Yeah, that's huge.
So big, right? Now there's
Mm-hmm.
four of us in this game of Russian
Yeah.
roulette. But we had a family meeting and we all decided that actually, yeah, I think we need to go in and we would do this together. So 3 weeks ago, almost to the day, we embarked on yet another journey. I felt really good about it because the last surgery was nearly 20 years ago, and technology and systems and skills of surgeons and knowledge has got better. So as I'm sitting here today looking at you, I've got my lippy back on, I've got my earrings in. I'm 3 weeks post-op brain surgery, doing really well. And
Yeah, that's incredible.
yeah, we managed to debulk. We're still awaiting histology. That doesn't really
Yeah.
bother me. It will be what
No.
it will be. It's out
Yeah.
of my control. Uh, and we face radiation come June, July. That's fantastic. Aren't I blessed that I actually get to have some medical treatments, that we get to live in a country with medical treatment?
Mm. It's so rare for
Yeah.
people to see it that way.
And that's the perspective, right?
I agree. I
Flipping it on its
agree.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I have not received a brain surgery, but I've been support of multiple brain surgeries, and that is no mean feat.
Yeah.
One in itself is just such a huge thing to endure. Not to mention the fear of going in, because that's present whether you're curious or positive or whatever, or and supported. It's still like it's brain surgery.
Yeah. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I have not feared once for myself.
Mm. Mm.
The only thing that scares me is my family, my children, my extended family, my beautiful friends. And you learn a lot about people around you and their coping mechanisms as well,
Yeah,
and how
absolutely.
they cope. Um, and it's been a great lesson for me. Um,
Mm,
it's incredible. I've been in a place of such complete peace and completely enveloped in love, care, and
mm.
compassion at this time.
Yeah, it's
I've
beautiful.
learned, yeah, you know, I had been just, yeah, in awe of even when you're in the deepest valleys, it's in the darkest moments that the seeds are doing the work. They're doing the work in the ground. They're rooting themselves. And
Agreed.
it's when you get to that mountaintop and you yell, you cry, you scream, you release, whatever it is that people do. And for me, it's just a sense of calm. You can see down in the valley the blooms that have been just waiting in the darkness that have actually come now to light. So
Agreed.
yeah, it's an incredible thing. And
There's
I mean
such
there are
this.
yeah, there are days that wear on me. I'm human, right?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
absolutely. It actually would be
Yeah.
mildly concerning if it didn't.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
yeah.
there's a ticking time clock in my head, but none of us get out of this alive.
Agreed, agreed. And it's the
Yep.
perspective that it's the fear of death that really, I think, and I was just talking about that with someone the other day, is it stops people from living.
Yeah. And this is
Uh,
it, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get up every day and I have a little ritual in the morning. I get up and I go straight outside. Doesn't matter if it's raining, hailing, snowing, sunny, whatever it is. Bare feet, straight on the grass. And I just get to breathe and just, sunlight in the eyes, feet on the grass, and just go, hey,
Grounding to the
what?
earth.
What
Yes.
is in store for me today?
Yeah,
Isn't
I love
this
that.
such an exciting thing? And it's not the last day of your life, it's the first day of your life, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
Rewriting. It's
It's
incredible,
so
really.
special. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for sharing that. Like I can feel it, and I know that most that will be listening are just, there's such potential in the choice, but also the view in which we see the world, and we can choose that on the
yes,
daily, which is what you're doing. And
yes,
it's so special. And the things that you've been through, you've allowed them to strengthen you and to let you grow and to become your purpose and your power rather than what could be the opposite, and
absolutely. It's always
yeah.
about reframing. It's reframing and also building emotional boundaries,
Oh yeah,
because what you focus on grows. And I think though we have to remember that not everyone's in the space that I'm in. So I have to meet people where they're at. And people and us, we create our own reality. And so, you know, they say, oh, I'm scared about this up and coming thing. Well, it hasn't actually happened yet. So that's a bit of an illusion. Fear
agreed,
is just an illusion,
agreed. And everyone has the capability to sit in the seat that you're sharing and
Yes,
to see life. And the key there, the beginning key, is the curiosity. It's like
yes,
what is possible, and also what is this teaching me rather than what's happening to me. And that's
absolutely. I mean,
just so special.
I think life creates, and it's created for us. There's actually a seabed of opportunity, you know? We think of the underneath and the seabed of the ocean, and it's stuff that we don't see. And that's just like life. There's so many unseen goodies out there waiting for us just to
Agreed.
unpack.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's not until you put the goggles on and you head down underwater and you go, oh, look at the color, look at the coral, look at this, look at this. And that's
Yes.
just like life,
Yeah.
you know?
Agreed. Yeah, it's so special. So special. Thank you. So here we are in question two, which is in the moment. And the question I have for you, especially with the life that you have experienced and I would say embraced, some would say endured, but from your perspective, you have embraced it in every which way. So, my question for you is quite simple. What brings you joy?
Thank you so much for that question. And, again, it's a big question, just like the first. Again, I don't want to overthink these things. I think what brings me joy is just been able to wake up. Waking up is such a joyous event that most of us take for granted. When we go to sleep at night, we actually don't know if we're going to wake up. We assume we are. Um, but our life is, we're so vulnerable, as humans. So my joy is waking up and waiting in excitement to see what lies ahead for that day. Now, not everything in our days are going to be exciting, but actually that brings me joy too. Because as I shared before, if we're not faced with challenges, how the heck do we build resilience? And for those people that are unsure what resilience might mean, it's really about bouncing back from adversity. And that takes some knocks in life to be able to even gain resilience. If everything's going swimmingly well, we're never going to build resilience. So what brings me joy is actually learning to let go of things we can't control. It's reflecting and being able to recalibrate. And then it's gratefully going again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Joy
beautiful.
means going again. We get the opportunity to give it a go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And it's yeah, that's the recipe, right? That's the medicine. I love what you shared about you getting to wake up as a joy. Like this, and I think the more we experience in any which way, and a lot of people who are listening will relate, the more we experience in challenge and in trauma or other things, the more, I hope, we really see life as a gift and
Yes.
we embrace it. And that was definitely an experience for me, is losing someone very near taught me to live. And
Yeah.
not everyone will see it that way, but to me it's like, well, what choice do I have but to live this life the best I possibly can because I'm alive.
That's it, right? And it's in
Yeah.
those moments of vulnerability, in those moments of transition, in
Mm-hmm.
grieving. What are we learning? What is it that
Yes.
we've learned from the loved one that may have moved on from this world? What
Yep.
is it that they've taught us, and that we can then
Yeah.
share that goodness to the rest, right?
And that's that difference in what, seeing life as what this is happening to me
Yeah,
or this is happening for me, and what can I
correct.
take from it, what can I build, what's coming through for me, what am I learning, what is being awoken within me, like you were talking about resilience, like that we become who we are through adversity.
Oh, we've got to grasp it. We've got to
Yeah.
run towards it, not run away
Yes.
from it. We've got to just
Yes.
let it osmosis, let it just envelop us. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
so true.
Yeah,
So true.
yeah,
I love that. There's joy, there's a lot of joy in that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking the question.
Oh, anytime. I've got many more, but we're only but where we get to move into now is that you have a question for me.
Yeah, I had a couple actually. I'm
Okay.
going to actually no, I'm just going to ask you the one.
Okay.
I want to ask you,
Mm.
what is the best compliment that you have received most recently?
The best compliment that I've received most recently.
Part of the reason I ask this is it's quite
Yeah.
a tough question to often give ourselves praise.
Yeah. Actually, I yes, I see that a lot in my clients, and I remember a time when that was a challenge. Now the challenge is just like deciding which one to share.
That's
Because
amazing.
yeah, no, I honestly I'm an advocate for, like, we get to be our best teammate. And I mean, even in everything that you've shared, but also the way that I live my life is like we get to celebrate. Gratitude is one of the greatest gifts of life, of living. And if we can't celebrate ourselves, who can?
100%.
But I think that the greatest compliment that I have received lately, and I receive it in different ways, is actually just in and around how I make others feel. And
Beautiful.
actually, no, that language is not correct, but the safety in which I provide so that people can feel the way they feel. And just kind of by being me, because it's not trying, what that invokes in others.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. And what a gift you are to the world. A treasure trove, a seabed,
Mhm.
for people to dip their toe into that into that space, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
beautiful,
that,
beautiful
that,
thing.
yeah. And even when it's not said, it's not lost on me like the space I hold and therefore what people feel safe to release or what feels safe to share. And then get a bit of a shock because they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I shared all of that. And as they're sharing, it's just like that's such a blessing to be that person and to be that safe space so that people can release because release is key, right?
Absolutely. If we hold
Mm.
on to stuff, we become, yeah, heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
heavy in the world around us too.
Heavy in the world and around us, limited in the view of what's happening to or for, and also just resistant to everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do. We get resistant because we don't want to repeat that. We don't want to feel that again. And
Correct.
so we avoid and we distract and we disconnect and we do whatever it takes to not feel. And
Instead
that
of
is
looking at the
not living.
trigger and
Yep.
looking deeper as to why and how can I grow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we could talk for hours, couldn't
I
we?
know. I think we'll be back again.
I think we'll be having another cuppa together for sure.
Yes, I love that. That's so special. For now, I just want to thank you so much for sharing everything that you have and really letting us, into your world and into what you have embraced and how you've embraced it. And the journey of you've been on is no easy feat. However, the way you've met that with curiosity and patience and growth and purpose is just it's so inspiring.
I could say the same thing about you. And I look forward to many more conversations
Yeah.
about
Yay.
sharing this beautiful wisdom that you have and that you're portraying to the
Mm.
world. And thank you for this platform.
Yeah, thank you. That's where I want to end is that how can connect with you? How can people, I don't know if you've got much going on at the moment as in your, in your space of healing, but I've heard through Amy that there's podcasts that you maybe dabble in as well. So do you
There's
want
a
to
few
spend
different
a few
things.
minutes
Yeah.
just sharing,
Yeah.
if people how people can find you?
Absolutely. So people can
Mm,
get hold of me on my coaching page, actually,
mm,
on Facebook. That's the only platform that I'm on currently. I've just sort of started to dabble into that. They can
mm-hmm.
private message me on there.
Yeah,
And
cool.
that's coaching made simple with Cathy Tia.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
beautiful.
think I've sent you the link that you can pop up
Great.
on here as well.
Yeah,
So
well.
yes, flick me a message and we'll start some conversations.
Oh, so good. That's where it starts.
That's where it starts. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My
And yeah,
pleasure.
I'm already excited for part two.
Wonderful. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
I will. And thank you so much. Thank you to all those of you who are listening. I already know I can speak for Cathy, but we're here to hold space for you in terms of like what may have opened up for you. And I say that because of in the areas that we work and the way we view life is like everything that is here for you is a gift and it's something somewhere that you can grow. And so we'd love to hear what sparks your heart through the combo that we've had today. Thank you so much,
You're
Cathy.
welcome. Talk to you soon.
Yes.